What's up, beautiful people? How y'all doing on this magnificent evening or day? I wanted to get into things that are happening in the world and decode it and decipher it through the eyes of a 3%er. The world is a constant change. Change is the thing that happens inevitably. But when you've lived life long enough, you get a chance to see that everything is moving on a clock. And you might say, well, what do you mean by this, Mas? What I mean is things will start here and then they will slowly digress. And then as they digress, they will hit a turning point, a point where things begin to change. And then things start to look up and they get better and they go good and they go really good. And then they get so good that they reach their pinnacle and then they start back over. And that is where life is. And I have conjured up things from the internet to be able to explain what's happening in the world and what's going on so that we can kind of understand this, So I say, hey, come look at this. And we start off with this video of this lady getting snails that's supposed to help with her face when it comes to her skin and recovery. I'm assuming she must have just had some sort of work done or surgery because she's got a black eye. But this is the human experience being lived in the outer world. Everything is all about what's outside of us. How do we look? What are we dressed in? What are we wearing? Where are we going? What are we doing? Everything has to do with what's outside of you as a being. To the point where people are getting surgeries. People are doing things that focus on their external being. Things that you would question, you go, but why? Like, look at this. And I haven't figured out how to get audio to the video yet. So we just gonna look at things without audio. We're just gonna hear me. But this is what the world is doing. People are getting BBLs. People are getting facial reconstruction. People are working on their noses. People are changing everything about themselves, lips, eyes, hair, whatever you could think of, because we are focused on the external. And then you go, well, why did Jaylen Brown's father attempt to murder a guy after allegedly stabbing a youth football coach during a dispute over a parking lot? Not a parking lot, a parking spot. But we've gotten to this point where even though our child has become one of the richest people in sports, or at least in his sport, where our lives should be at a point where everything is well. We have no reason for conflict. We're still fighting over a parking spot. How do we get to this point? How do we get to the point where people have become this low during such a pivotal time period? I mean, we got Chat GPT and AI, for crying out loud. And yet, this is how we're living. You know, I heard people talk about YNs. You know, this is how people are living. What brings about this YN activity? And it's just basically acting in pure ignorance. You know, when we say living for the moment, it wasn't meant to mean that I will just do everything out of pure ignorance. In this video, we have people that are crashing their cars into each other over disputes, basically putting their lives and other people's lives on the line over something so minute. What brings about this? Why are we here? What has caused people to act in such a manner? You know, I can't seem to figure out what it is, or maybe I have. And look at this. This is how we're acting in today's time. Even though we have reached what most would say one of the highest points in human history, or the history that they've recorded. You know, we have activity that goes on where we say, you know, what's the point of even having a thought process within ourselves that says, nah, we probably shouldn't do that. Maybe I should act a little different. What has brought about the YN activity? And some people will go, well, it's the music. Well, it's the fact that a lot of people grow up without fathers. And I think these are contributing factors. But something that we cannot ignore is that everyone has lost their sense of humanitarianism. We don't care about other people and how they live and who they are. Everything and everyone has become individualized, where all we care about is how we look and how we feel in the moment. But we're not acting with intelligence. We're not acting with spiritual intuition and guidance. Everything is just how I feel right here, right now. And we got a guy here who gets into a fight, and he looks like, obviously he works for Amazon. He's delivering for Amazon. Gets into a fight, loses a sock and a shoe. This guy, I don't know if you saw earlier in the video, loses. He literally, like, while they're trying to fight, somebody steals his car. This is obviously a dispute over a package or something. Well, how did we get here? What's going on in the world? And that brings me to a study called the Utopia Rat Experiment. And this was done by John B. Calhoun. And in this experiment, he basically gives unlimited resources to the rats. They can have anything they want whenever they need it. And his goal was to observe the effects of this. Now you have to think about our society here in America. Though there are levels of wealth that are attained by a certain amount of people. There are people who live at what we would say a lower existence. But being that they're at their lower existence, it isn't something that is where they don't have anything that they need. Everything that we could possibly need is given. If you're poor and you need food, you can go get food stamps. If you need water, water's available. If you need housing, you can get it. Like our poverty level, be it that it's poverty to us, it's not poverty maybe somewhere else. And we live with unlimited resources. So in this experiment, he gives them a paradise. And the first thing that he notices is the population grows. They're just having babies and they don't really got to worry about nothing because everything is good. I would say this is like around the 1950s, 1940s, right? Everything's good. You know, we're having kids. Everybody's having like 14, 10, 12 kids. But then what happens is there's not enough space. You know, everybody's living in the city. There's not enough space. You know, so what happens is he notices in the experiments that there's a space restriction. And this becomes problematic. Because we got everything that we need, but we're having all these kids and there's not enough places for all these kids to go. So then what he observes is the behavioral sink. As the population grows, there's a breakdown in social behavior. There's a breakdown in social behavior. Do you get where I'm going? You see? This is where we have our behavioral sink. We're going lower, even though everything around us is going higher. The dichotomy of life. And so this starts to cause people to become more aggressive, or the rats, more aggressive, having disrupted mating patterns, meaning we're so concerned with how beautiful that we are that we can't even mate. We're so concerned about obtaining so much water and food and wealth that we don't even got time to mate. There's no need to mate. There's already so many children in the world already. We'll just adopt. Hypersexuality and cannibalism come in. And I'll let you decipher that how you may. But in some populations, ultimately experience a decline and even extinction. Population decline here in China, population decline here in America, population decline in the UK, population decline here and there and everywhere. Nobody's having kids. Why are we having kids? What's wrong with us? Why have we become so distant from each other? Because we care about how beautiful we are. How many resources you got? I can't get with you if you ain't got the resources. Oh, I can't get with nobody until I get my resources right, you know? And maybe this is the way that it was intended to be. Maybe not. But if you're looking at the clock, you can kind of see where we're at. And maybe we're not at extinction level right now, but sometime in the distant future, we may be. Or maybe it'll just be extinction of a certain level of being. Who knows? But that brings me to another point, which is there used to be a world where we we had more color, we had more creativity, things were brighter, things were livelier. And I didn't grow up in the times before me, but I can only go off of the things that I was told. And what you see is that people were more communitarian or communicative, and people cared about their neighborhood and their neighbors and their friends, and they knew their neighbors, and they were cool with the person at the store. And you had cars and colors that were bright and lovely and made you feel something. Colors make you feel something. And now we're in a world where everything is bland. Even though technology is booming, life is better than it's ever been. We got a chance to have electrical cars or a gas car. You could pick and choose which one you want. You know, we got colleges available for everybody to go to. And yet life has become more dull. Think about it. Like, this is what your fast food restaurants used to look like. They had a place for the children and they had vibrant colors. Things were alive around us because I think that the things around us represented what was happening within the human spirit as a collective. Now we've become more dull, even though we have better things and everything is so amazing. Even look at this, the jerseys in sports. Like, I remember when the jerseys kind of represented the franchise in a way where it's like you could see a bit of the city in it. There was character in it. There was livelihood in the logos. And now you look at it and it just says Rockets, Kings. Everything is bland, boring. Nothing has flavor to it anymore. Was that our choosing? Or was that something that was put into life to slowly get us away from things that were alive and bright? Even when you look at buildings, I mean, they used to build buildings with character, precision. It almost seemed like they were trying to put something that could stand the test of time, that could talk to the younger generations. And now look at your train station, your town halls. Now look at your town halls. It's almost as if we're becoming robotic. We are becoming SpongeBob with no edges. You know? And it's happening right before our eyes. And we see it and we don't even see it. I seen a picture of a 1900s skyline of New York, and you could see the different edges and ridges and different styles. And now all of the buildings are just a bunch of squares. But we got more technology now. We have more knowledge now. Everything is better now. What has taken place? These are the questions that you should be asking yourself. So all of that reminds me of this movie that I watched, and it's called The Giver. And basically, humanity is living in this space where everything is kind of void of emotion, color, things that make life feel lively. They were more robotic than anything. They were the AI. And in this movie, the main character goes to see this guy because he's been chosen, and he has to go and get passed down verbally all of the past that came before him, because he will be the person who now knows what happened in the past, and then they'll go to him for all of the information that happened in the past. And what he starts to realize is that the world that he lives in is defective and full of corruption. And he wants to experience the real life, life with color, life with feeling. And so the story goes on. I highly suggest you check it out. But it's called The Giver. And if you're paying attention and you're using your spiritual eye, you can see that this is what's happening. This is what's taking place right now. I can talk to kids and they don't even care about movies that came before them. They don't care about music that came before them. They've never even listened to it. Even though they have more access now to things that came before them, it is not even on their radar because they're worried about what's happening right now and what's going to happen. And so the things that help lead you to be where you're at, it doesn't even matter. And, you know, those who don't know history are bound to repeat it. And so the clock goes. Because why would I care about the past when I got everything I need? I got my phone right here. I can get a new video today. I can get new music today. I can get, you know, anything that I need to stimulate me for right now in the blink of an eye. So what do I need to care about the things that came before me? Why would I want to understand it? It has nothing to do with my life. And then once you take the time to really figure out the world that came before you, you start to realize what's happening and who you are and where you are. And you start to see that most things are like this video here. You know, they say, oh, we're going to give you something great, something great. Ah, bullshit. No, look at it. We really got something great in front of you. I promise you something great. Bullshit. This video, if you could see past the things that are funny and look at it on a deeper level, this is what's happening in the world today. We're living in this. You know? They say, we're going to feed you something really good. No, try this. I swear you're going to love this. And then we got what you need. It's all right here. Bullshit. And you won't know if you don't care to learn about the things that came before you. And you won't care to pay attention to the world that's happening in front of you until you start to care about the things that happened before you. Because the only way to truly see the future is you have to see the past. And the only way to really make a change is to notice the things that were bad in the past and go a different way. So that's my monologue for today. You know, I hopefully I said some things that make sense to you and things that touched you in a way, because ignorance seems to be the new common sense. And the only way that we can change that is for people to be willing to say that things are ignorant and we should make them better. But that job can't be done by only a few. So until the next one, stay swabby, stay stupid.